So I hit the wrong video animation, but once it was going, I just had to live with it. So welcome back, everybody. This is DDP with the Dallas Prospect, joined again by Enyi and Duca, and we are basically talking whatever and anything right now. It's kind of an open forum here as we just get a feel on what we want to talk about. There's not a whole lot of substantial stuff map-wise to go into, but any questions, obviously, we'll take any general questions. And other than that, we're just kind of talking whatever right now. Mavericks, NBA in general. Hell, we were just talking college football before we jumped on here. So open forum. Let's roll with it. So what's one of the things, we'll start off with the Mavs thing. What I guess importance or significance do you put of any kind on Shaq supposedly picking the Mavericks to win the title? That's about what we got right now.
He believes. Well, I don't know. Maybe he's a new resident of the DFW area, so he was probably I don't want to say pandering, but he's probably pandering to his new neighbor. So that could be a driving force on his opinion.
Yeah.
But I mean, look, hey, the way the Mavs are set up, if lightning, what is it? If they catch lightning in a bottle, they're like a lightning in a bottle team. If they can catch it, they are capable of creating some highly uncomfortable situations for the other contenders in the Western Conference. I'll say that.
Yeah,
which I didn't think they were capable of last year after the trade.
Yeah.
We just
I think from a talent perspective, hot at the right time. Sure. I like a lot of what Dallas has done this offseason.
Yeah.
To me, with this sort of thing, these guys aren't like their opinions and analysis don't matter that much. It's more like the name brand and entertainment value they bring to it. Like I think Barkley picked the Mavericks like last year or the year before to win a title. And like the thing is, no one cares that they're wrong. Unlike guys who are on like ESPN or Fox Sports or whatever, who like just sit there with wrong opinions all day. Like these guys can be wrong too, but like they are themselves and they're not just like manufacturing stuff in the same way. Like it doesn't matter like that. You're like, okay, you're Shaq though. It doesn't matter if you're just dead wrong or like, saying something flippant in the team, whether or not they end up being good doesn't really matter. It's kind of irrelevant. So I put next to nothing on it. I'm just going to say that's a nod of respect to Luka and Kyrie. And I'm going to say probably some due of respect for Jason Kidd as well. Just being, in that old school kind of mentality. So that's about as far as I look at it. It doesn't mean much to me. It's just kind of like, oh, cool, I guess.
Yeah. Can I ask you a question? Not
sure.
Because there are some things that came up with the Mavs here in the recent days, and you just kind of remind me of one. But before I go into what that subject is, I have to ask you: do you consider yourself a real basketball guy?
Do I consider myself a real basketball guy?
Yes.
In the sense of like having played it, or in the sense of like I live and breathe watching every game at this point?
I guess maybe in the way he intended it, this person intended it, maybe played.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I played it all through high school and everything, and I played in several leagues and stuff post high school. So, I mean, in terms of taking it seriously, sure. In terms of like, did I play like legitimate collegiate ball or anything? If that's the cutoff, then no, I'm not.
So the reason why I asked that, so it came on Gilbert Arenas' podcast, so Red Flag number 1.
Yeah.
I forgot who was play for the Nets. I think it was the number 2 pick. way back in like 2000. Kenyon Martin, that's what it was.
Oh yeah, Kenny Martin, Kmart.
So Kenyon Martin says on the Gilbert Arenas podcast that any real basketball person knows that it is not Luka that's the best player on his team. It is, of course, Kyrie Irving.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And so I don't know. I just wanted to get your thoughts on that. I had thoughts, of course. So
Peak Kyrie, probably north of it, but I would also say, what did Kyrie ever do before he had LeBron, and how much has he done post LeBron?
Yeah.
So I would say in that metric, that doesn't hold a lot of water to me. But like if you're taking that 2018 Kyrie finals performance and putting that up against the best of whatever Luka's done, I'd say it's pretty even footing at that point. But I don't know. I guess I don't think as much.
I think he meant this year.
Oh, right now. Okay.
Yeah, right now. Which is on brand for.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess I lean on the Luka side just because of the youth factor. Kyrie, I know he's 32. He's not like old.
I'm sorry, I'm reading the comments. Did you watch that game on Friday, by the way?
No, I saw I saw the score and everything like that, and I saw like the video when the benches cleared or something.
Talk about freaking meltdown of.
I mean, that they barely slipped into the playoffs. I'm just stunned they've gone on this.
Yeah, I mean,
we're talking about the Rangers and yes, as Eastside's mentioning,
essentially house money, but you had a 4-2 lead going into the top of the ninth.
I likened it to the well, first of all, 2011, one strike away twice.
Yeah.
But I likened it to the Mavericks of 2 years ago. Basically got hot right as the postseason was starting. Now they weren't about to fall out of the playoff picture. That's the difference. But just running through teams that nobody thought that they were going to beat. They weren't picked as favorites in either of the first two series. The difference is the Rangers went up 2-0, whereas the Mavericks didn't get their first win of the Western Finals until Game 4.
Yeah, that was wild. But anyway, shout out to Eastside Herald. I'm sure he's
got one team to root for, so he's got to suddenly act like he cares about it.
Yeah, that's true. But much love to him.
So tell me what you were going to say on the Kmart thing.
Anyway, so there's a certain brand of basketball take people that Gilbert Arenas falls under. And a lot of them is from a lot of former players carry this, and they like to cover their takes in the fact that they played.
Right. So therefore their opinion is better.
I mean, technically speaking, everyone's opinion is valid, but he will say it's more valid or correct even because of the status that his status in the league when he played. And so he's a very much a what one will call a crap. I forgot the word again.
Smear merchant.
When you are,
Smear merchant?
No, he's not. He's not a smear merchant, but he's like when you're always on the opposite side.
Contrarian.
Contrarian. He's a grade A basketball take contrarian.
I was going to say, anytime I've ever heard him saying something, I've always been like, I disagree with that.
Yeah, for the most part. And I think that's pretty much on brand for him. So
yeah,
Kenyon Martin, and I don't want to disparage these guys, but anyone who feels some type of way, if that ever hit like Mav's Twitter and you felt some type of way, just got to understand that that's on brand for our that particular podcast, being the Gilbert Arenas podcast. I mean, he said wild things. He's gone on Akeem Olajuwon for charging people to teach him footwork and when it comes to post moves and stuff like that. And it's just like, I mean,
acting like Hakeem had no post game.
Yeah, he's like no one.
That's pretty
He
wild.
said no. Yeah, he said no one uses his moves anymore, and it's like anyway, but that's the type of guy he is.
Yeah,
So I
sure.
just want for all the Mavs fans out there. Anyway, yeah, no Cowboys, and the Rangers game isn't till later on today. So I was thinking, what's gonna hold them over is probably some Mavs talk. But hey, you want to talk about the final preseason game?
Sure. Yeah. You want to take point on that? Oh, let me
Yeah,
pull up my
did you
notes
get a
here.
chance to did you get a chance to watch it?
I saw bits and pieces of it. I admittedly don't watch much of the preseason.
Yeah, it's tough, especially when they spread the games out so far. So
Mm-hmm.
our boy, our starting center, 14 points. I'm trying to pull up the stats. But he
Derek Lively, 14 points, 5 boards, 2 assists, 6 of 7 from the field,
yeah,
and a block.
and not only was this like 14 points like straight at the
Rim.
he also had, I think, a couple of, he showed some touch. He
Yeah.
had some hook shots in there that really got me excited. And it was the most encouraging outing the Mavericks have. I know, granted, it's against the Detroit Pistons, but they're
Yeah.
also another pro team. We literally just lost to
Real Madrid.
exactly. So who am I to be like, oh, but it's just Detroit. However, a lot of guys. Josh Green looked very good. I think he had 22 points. He's showing a little bit of variance in his game, not just staying in the corner hitting threes. Although he did have a good outing from beyond the arc, but we saw some mid-range shots. He needs to, of course, he's going to need to learn how to finish better at the rim, but he's getting to the rim, which is something that the Mavericks need, because we need someone who's going to be able to create for themselves, and we're seeing a lot of that in Josh Green, and hopefully he's going to be one of the guys that are, one of the starting five, even though it hasn't been announced yet. And I think Kid still has it up in the air who he's going to start in that 3 spot. But
If he isn't the starter, are you hitting like a panic button like with him? Like, because one of the conversations I had, several weeks back was kind of, is this a make or break year for Josh Green? And then as we started hearing that he might not be the starter, like we assumed he would be, I've seen more than a few people like immediately jumping on that idea that like, oh, dude, he's already been leapfrogged by these kids. Then he's not this. It's looking more like a break year for him, essentially.
Yeah. I mean, he might have a breakout year. I don't think he needs to be a starter to have a breakout year. It's kind of depending how your philosophy in terms of how you like your lineups. If I was an NBA coach, I can definitely see the argument of not starting him and probably starting probably someone who can be as good as defensively as him, but probably a little less offensively, just so I can have more ball handler, someone who can create for himself and other people.
Yeah.
And coming off the bench, so my bench wouldn't suffer so much. It's when you have like a team that's so top heavy like the Mavericks do. You might want to consider, hey, instead of starting like your 5 best people, might as well put some, I guess, balance it out a little bit. So I can definitely see the argument of not starting Josh Green. Probably I've heard anywhere from starting Derek Jones Jr. At the 3 or 4 spot, and just having him and Grant Williams, whichever they consider the 3, and whoever considers themselves the 4, just be that guy.
Speaking of Derek Jones Jr., what's your kind of expectation for him this year? Because I've seen, with all the hype that we saw in the offseason about Omax in particular, it really seemed like with Derek Jones Jr., it kind of like, I'm seeing it swinging back that direction now, where like some of the people that cover the team more extensively are kind of suggesting like, basically he is the player that fans think Omax is, or something like right now. Like, I liked the pickup immediately when they got him. Like that was one of my early videos coming back, was like talking about that, because I was like, that feels like a fairly significant thing. But I was a little surprised by, I guess, that kind of comparison. Like, hey, tap the brakes on Omax, put your focus here on Jones. I was
Yeah.
like, I don't know that it has to be one versus the other, but like, I do like that you're trying to say, hey, don't forget about Jones.
Yeah. So I like to pick up just like you did. My expectations of him is he's going to be a very useful player for the Mavericks.
Hmm.
Um, you know, those minutes that we probably thought were going to go to Omax will probably go to him. He can play the 3-4. I can see him anywhere from being the starting 3 or 4. Spot games and spot minutes. Probably not
Yeah.
ending. But he'll be the type of dude. You sit him in the corner, hit open threes, cut very well, lob threat, someone that could light up the AAC, just with this, I guess, for lack of a better term, just his pyrotechnics in terms of his dunking ability and athleticism.
Hmm.
Something that we haven't really seen since Brandon Wright, really.
Yeah.
So it might give us some extra juice. So my expect is not like I'm thinking he's going to be Josh Green level of
Hmm.
a player, but I think useful role player. So probably like mid-tier low role player with the Mavericks. I think that can be something for him. That's what I have for him. I'm excited
Yeah.
about him. Especially
Yeah.
when seeing Omax probably not be there immediately to
Yeah.
where he's in a rotation. So
I
it
think,
gives us kind of like a stopgap.
yeah. 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 I think for me with Omax, the only thing that I was tapping the brakes on, because I'm very high on his potential and everything,
Hmm.
but when I was talking about him early on, a lot of people were like already ready to put him like by mid-season, saying he's at Dorian Finney-Smith, like peak Finney,
Yeah,
like Dodo.
yeah,
And I was like,
that'd be
nah,
nice.
guys, like I understand Dodo had a rough last year here, but let's not disparage the player he was for the 2 or 3 seasons, especially his last couple seasons here.
Yeah.
Like he was a very, very good player for us. He was huge in that run in the postseason. So I didn't love that for saying like, hey, this rookie, picked where he was and everything by that point in the season, that basically the All-Star break, he's going to already be past this other guy that was also kind of a 3-and-D specialist for us for several years.
Yeah.
So I don't love that, but I do think Omax, like you said, he's a fascinating prospect. I think he'll be able to contribute pretty quickly and
Mhm.
find himself a nice spot in the rotation, but I do think he'll need some time. And
Yeah,
so
we'll probably see him.
having that with like Derek Jones is a good stopgap.
We'll probably see him in Frisco playing with the Legends.
Yeah.
That's going to be a very exciting team
Yep.
this year.
Speaking
Um,
of exciting, one thing I did like that I had circled in my notes was the fast break points, because this has not been a team that runs fast breaks
no.
for years. They
Yeah.
hit 20 points fast break again preseason. No Luca,
Yeah.
I get it, but and no Hardy either. But
Hmm.
20 fast break points, I'll take that. This team, I feel like, has left a lot of meat on the bone. As good as they are in a half court set, obviously,
Hmm.
they should absolutely be taking some advantage of the fast break game. It's
Yeah.
like you want to be able to balance that a little bit because it's easy, not free buckets by any mean. You got to work for it, but
Hmm.
it's there for the taking. And you finally have like the thoroughbreds to go running up and down the floor where it's like, all right, Luca, you don't want to run up the floor. Just throw your 94-foot dime pass like
Yeah.
you like to do and drop it into the hands of Omax or Josh Green or Derek Jones Jr.,
Yeah.
whoever. Like
Derek
someone's going to
Lively
be,
can run the floor too. I
yeah,
mean,
Lively, yeah.
if that 94-foot pass isn't available, you can at least pass it up to Kyrie, let him run the fast break.
Yep.
And if it breaks down, just get it at the top of the key, and then can commence running our half court offense, which we're probably one of the best. So if we can get the best of both worlds working for us, that, like I said before, lightning in a bottle can really have some good effects going into the postseason if we can make it.
Yeah. I like Wayland's Wonderland chipping in. So Exum comes in for Kyrie, and Green comes in for Jones, essentially, is kind of like what his I guess view is of sort of the rotation and everything. What do you think of that? Dante's role is a little bit interesting. I like the utility parts. I still don't know
I
what his
mean, hey,
minutes looks like.
he's been quite the surprise
Mhm.
this preseason. Um,
I guess that's for me the hard part of separating is preseason does feel like a different game. Kind of
yeah.
like when you see a guy in the G League score 100 points or something, then they move him up to the main roster and he either can barely get in the game or if he does, it's totally
Yeah,
different. Like the jump is
yeah.
so stark.
I always wonder why it's like that too. It's just like anyway, but yeah, but that is the case. However, he has pedigree. We saw
Sure.
him play against the we saw him play against some pro players in the what is it, the FIBA World Tournament.
Yeah. World
And
Cup.
he showed, yeah, in the World Cup he looked good. So with all that being said, it's not like we're just seeing him in a summer league, and then trying to gauge how his performance was there, and then gauge it up to it. And we're seeing him in better stops.
Mhm.
Um, and I do think it can translate. I'm not sure to what level, but I do see him being, working his way to be one of the main guys in the rotation. He's already surpassed anything what Frank Ntilikina did, um, and so we've upgraded our, third ball handler. So, I mean,
Yeah.
so which is, I mean, look, I'm excited to see what he can do. He can run the fast break. He's big. He can play defense.
Yep.
Supposedly his shooting's gotten better. I don't see why not. We
From what
do
I
need
saw
someone.
international play, yeah, it
Yeah,
definitely looked a lot better percentage wise.
yeah. So we do need someone of his capability. Someone that could probably run the pick and roll, shoot, play off ball too as well, and also defend. Because
Mhm.
when it comes to our guards, we've only got essentially one. And if you're considered Josh Green a guard,
Yeah.
that's a primary, like a plus defender. Um,
Mhm.
so Dante Exum, thank God that he showed out the way he did, because now we essentially just gave ourselves another guard that can play defense. Where this complicates things is now we have a complete logjam at the guard position on our team.
Yeah, we
And
do.
so we're still looking, waiting for that notification anytime soon, or not so soon, but that Tim Hardaway trade, or some trade
Yep.
that's going to come in to loosen it up. Because you know if it was like a log jam at the wing position, I wouldn't mind,
Mhm.
because I'm a proponent of, hey, if you can get as many 6'6", 6'7", 6'8" dudes that can run the floor, shoot threes, play defense,
Yeah, they're
by
more
all means,
interchangeable.
yeah, load up your roster with it. But
Yep.
I don't want to load up my roster with a bunch of guards who can't play defense, great scorers, but or
Right.
shooters. But um, yeah, we have too many of them, so we need to do something with that. But thank God for Dante Exum, though.
Yeah. Question for you. I don't know much of anything about these two guys. I guess the most pressing Mavs news we got is Dexter Dennis and Greg Brown, the third, getting basically converted to two-way contracts. Do you
Yeah.
know anything about them? I've seen a
So
couple highlight plays of them. I've not really seen anything where I was like, oh, this is Dexter Dennis. Like I'm like, you know what I mean? Like I might have seen stuff here and there just watching the game, but not really like
yeah,
focusing on it.
so let me go. Let me start with Greg Brown. Greg Brown, uber athletic guy, drafted by he's from Texas, went to school in Texas, drafted by the
Trailblazers.
Blazers. Um, and he was like a six. I want to say 6'8", 6'9" dude, kind of scrawny, but he's very very athletic. Um, he has some ability to, I don't want to say hit the three, but we've seen him in practice.
Mhm.
He's shooting it at a somewhat level, but it's just not translating to a game. So maybe they could coach him up to where, if he can hit it consistently, um, he can translate to be a useful type player. Think about like a more athletic, a far more athletic Dorian Finney-Smith type,
Mm.
is
Okay.
is something that they're probably looking to try to develop
Yeah.
him into. Um, so I'm excited about that. He has some NBA experience, so the learning curve wouldn't be so much. the Dexter Dennis signing, rookie. He went to Wichita State, something like that. I think somewhere in Wichita, but transferred to Texas A&M. This is a dude that I'm actually kind of high on, because of what he can bring to the team, which is something we don't have. Now we have athleticism on the team. We have guys that can hit threes, but one thing we don't necessarily have is like we don't have a dude who's like I guess tenacious.
Yeah.
All our defenders are like more cerebral when it comes to defense. You know what I mean?
Right. Right.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you know, what I like about him is he's a dude that's gonna run the floor. He's gonna try to get chase down blocks. He's gonna try to be all up in your grill. Um, when playing defense, he can, he'll be very all up in your face when you're trying to play defense, and that is something, um, in a more aggressive way. You know what I mean? I'm trying to put it in ways that make sense because, like, we have guys that can play defense,
Yeah.
and they can play it well, like Josh Green. But there's he's like a Patrick Beverly. You know what I mean?
Okay.
In terms of his style of playing defense. It's not
And that.
it's not yeah, and that, or someone that bothers you, but
Yeah.
with more length and stuff like that. And then if you watched him in preseason, he had a couple of times where um he single-handedly stopped fast breaks because they'll think they have like a wide open 1-on-0 layup,
Mm-hmm.
and he'll come in and get the block, or you
Blow it
know
up.
yeah, completely blow it up, just because he has that hustle, athleticism, and tenacity that I don't think a lot of other guys do have. So
Hmm.
I'm very excited about watching him grow. The
Yeah.
Mavericks should keep him longer than, you know 1 or 2 years. Like, it's gonna be a process, and looking at what he can bring,
Yeah.
that should be, if you guys want to eventually move on from Josh Green or somebody, like, kind of move him along so he can kind of take that spot. That's what I'm looking at him to be, if it comes to
Interesting.
that point. Yeah.
Interesting. Interesting. I like it. Um. So let's see. We're how many days out now from the season opener? Like 3.
3 days. Yeah.
3 days
25th, I believe that's where it starts.
before we got our
To
first
deal
matchup with
with
Wimby.
to deal with the next coming of, I don't know, one of the goats. Have you seen any of the Wimby games?
I've seen the highlights and everything. I haven't watched a full game of them yet, but
He's gonna be a problem.
yeah. Oh no, I don't doubt it.
He's gonna be
The
a
thing
problem.
I always say on these guys is health permitting.
Yeah.
Um, because
I,
man, his lankiness still just terrifies me.
what?
Like it's horrifying in all ways, right? Like for the other guy, you're looking at him and it just looks so unnatural, like
Yeah.
how lanky he is. But at the other side, it's like his body control and everything is just so his footwork, his passing, his
Yeah.
vision is like so good. Like, yeah, the ability for it. I a little bit of me was like, really? The Spurs got to get bailed out with another generational guy, like another generational big man. Seriously. Like, can't
Yeah.
they just rot for a while? Like,
Yeah.
they haven't really
Exactly.
suffered ever since
Yeah.
Kawhi left. They've still been generally relevant with the exception of 1 or 2 years.
Yeah.
So it's just like, come on, man. It's too early to bail them out.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, look, he's a literal creative player. Like,
Yeah.
I think up until like a couple of years ago, you probably weren't able to even effectively create something like him on 2K.
Mhm.
You probably had uh some restrictions. But I've watched a couple of his games, and the thing that when I watch Spurs, I always try to watch with like, I guess, a Mavs lens. Like, what would the Mavs have in their repertoire to stop a guy
Yeah.
like?
How would they try to counter this?
Yeah, and I think the first look should probably be, I will let Grant probably get a stab at it first.
Yeah.
Because, I
Because
mean, of
he's
course,
undersized too for like
yeah,
his position.
of course he's gonna be undersized, but my hope is that um he wouldn't be able to get to his spots
Uh-huh.
as easy because of the sheer strength of Grant.
Yeah.
Um, and if he can bother that and get him off balance, maybe his shooting would not be as effective. Now,
Right.
as good as he's been, it's not like we're dealing with a Dirk Nowitzki um yet. Because I don't know. This might be to my dreams, but I think I heard somewhere that Holger was also working with them.
Oh, shit. That feels a little
I
bit
don't know
like
if I don't
betrayal.
know if I heard, I don't know if that was probably like in a dream or something. But if that's the case, holy crap, that would be. Can you imagine? Can you
Yeah.
imagine Wemby with the Dirk fadeaway? It'll be over for the league.
Yep. Yep. Now,
And
see,
that help.
the way somebody counters is Friday, November 24th. They go and play the Golden State Warriors, do the
Uh-huh.
Spurs. The Warriors need to re-sign Zaza Pachulia.
Oh my god! That's the
And
one
they
way.
need to wait for a corner three.
That's the
Notice I
one.
put it back on the Warriors, and I didn't say
Yeah.
for Dallas to sign. I'm like, I don't want any part of this. But
Yeah.
that's how the Warriors kept the train rolling for a little bit. The last time the Spurs had a chance with that original
Exactly.
core to
Yeah.
do
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's we got rules for this now, but it only takes one.
It only takes one. Yeah. I mean, look, if this
Kawhi has
dude.
never been quite the same. Like he's had nagging injuries with that ever since.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, look, if he, especially if he's healthy,
Yeah.
there's, I don't know, whoever has the blueprint to stop him,
Hmm.
or whatever player can successfully stop him, that player will open up avenues for similar type of players. That's how
Yeah.
crazy Wemby is.
Yeah.
Like, remember back in the 90s.
Throw Zion at him.
I mean, hopefully,
Just the
the
size and
size, yeah.
strength.
Oh, you remember back in the 90s where it was pretty much every team had like a dude that was like 7'4"
Hmm.
or whatever.
Yep.
But probably wasn't the most mobile person, but was just like a
Dallas one upped them all with Sean Bradley.
yeah, with Sean Bradley. I think that was probably there to try to be like a Shaq stopper. Um,
Probably.
yeah. So so we're dealing with that type of impact to the game. Like, just by him being him, he's gonna open up spots for other people just so they can try to stop him if they
Right.
can find like the type of player to do that. And so that's good. It's gonna be so interesting watching Wimby's development to see, what's gonna slow him down and what he's gonna learn to counteract the people slowing him down, because that's what everyone did. If you looked at, your Udonis Haslam's, like the shorter big people, but they could still guard bigs, but they weren't necessarily small. Like, those are the type of dudes that you put on Dirk
Yeah.
before Dirk figured it all out in 2011.
Yep.
Because Udonis Haslam gave him fits in 06.
Hmm.
Nick Collison was also a dude, but over in OKC, who gave Dirk a lot of fits. But when Dirk finally figured it out, it was nothing a soul can do to stop him.
Right.
And so, yeah, so it's just interesting now how the league constructs itself, especially when you have big, you know, guys like Wimby. I mean, like with LeBron, there's really nothing you can do. Like,
Mhm.
some dudes would be too big or too slow to guard him or too small to guard him and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So there's really nothing you can do. But guys like, um, you had like Giannis, you had, if you had guys like that who, who are like, I guess, dominant.
Yeah.
Wimby's gonna be dominant, but he's gonna be like dominant, but with skill.
Finesse.
Yeah, with finesse more than like Shaq or something like that, or LeBron, who's just like, he can do everything. But it's like, if we can find something to stop this guy, jobs will be created. Jobs will be created.
We have a jobs program for you.
Yeah, you're gonna be our Wimby stopper on our roster.
We don't even need a stopper. We just need someone to slow
Slow,
it down
yeah,
a little bit.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, and that's the big thing is just trying to like keep it in check because you can't take a guy that's like a unicorn like this and just completely take him out of the game. I know like there was an era where Dirk could be taken out of the game by the right type of players and
Yeah.
defenses, right? The
Mhm.
'07 playoffs, for example, could happen. Um, but you just need to slow them down a little bit to like minimize the amount of damage that they're doing. Because if you let them run wild, he'll wreck both ends of the floor. Like
Yeah.
between his length and quick jump and everything, when you see him swatting the Wiggins three, when it looks like he's like jumping from the low block practically and still swatting the three back, you're just like, okay, all right.
Yeah, this is
So
gonna be interesting to figure
nothing is safe anymore.
out.
um, it's it really is incredible, but it's like, yeah, if you can find something to slow it down and at least mitigate some of the damage,
Mhm,
then you can at least hang in there. And then it's just the rest of your team. Like, are you able to do more collectively than
mhm,
they're able to? Because I do like what the Spurs are building, even outside of Wimby.
mhm.
But that's going to be the thing that's like how quick they bounce back to total relevance. What up,
Yeah.
TGK?
TGK was good, my guy.
Richard Case, what's up? He says, just me, but I rotate Josh and Omax. They can match his speed. Wimby isn't used to people with speed and fast hands. I don't know that Josh Green is who I send his way, but
Uh,
Omax is a
Omax
good
Omax could
candidate.
get a couple looks.
Yeah, Omax is a good candidate for that.
I need
Derek
Omax.
Jones,
He's
Omax.
so Omax, when I look at him, he's so, like, jittery. You know what
Yeah,
I mean? He's, like, everywhere. Like, I feel like, I don't even need to do, like, a full shot fake. I feel like a head
yeah,
fake would be like, "Ah!" He'll
yeah,
he'll jump at me. You're like, "Okay, guy, like, calm down." Like, I like it. It's like an polished tenacity with his defense. If once he polishes it up, oh, I'm checking my fantasy. Anyway, once he polishes it up, that's when you'll start to see him.
yeah.
But his movement is so, like, erratic.
Mhm.
And I noticed this, and when I did my research, but it was effective in college, and I guess it was effective in the summer league. So I didn't when I really was looking forward to seeing him against other professional players,
Mhm.
where everyone's so super skilled. So I wanted to know how he looks, how he will look in terms of how he moves and how that matches up against. And I guess the conclusion that I've drawn so far is he needs to tighten it up. Can be erratic. He has to be more disciplined. He has to use his feet along as well as his hands. It just
Yeah.
everything just looks so, like, there's so much movement going on for, like, just like a couple of feet, where just like, hey,
Yeah.
minimize the complete movement and just be more efficient with your movement, because
Yeah.
just so many
What was
things
the
going on.
what was the phrase we were told? By the way, TGK wins the award for a comment of the day because now that's all I will ever see. Um,
Yes.
the phrase that on the Omax thing, the phrase that we were told in high school a lot by our coaches was
Mhm.
economy of motion.
Yeah.
So like reducing that, like part of that could just be like if you're pump faking, you don't need to step back that right foot or your dominant foot to try and drive
Yeah.
off of it. You want to just move forward. It's just that little bit more tightening up of those physical mechanics
Yes.
that'll give you just a little bit of edge and it'll conserve a little bit of energy. So yeah, economy of motion absolutely applies to Omax probably because yeah, if he's got a lot of jitterbug in him, it's like, dude, you're burning energy
Yeah. I
just
mean,
sitting there like
you probably got it, and it's good.
tweaking.
It's a
Yeah,
learning thing, but he
yeah,
needs, like, this isn't college. Guys are gonna be so efficient with their movement
hmm,
that you know you if you just made one wrong move, that could put you in a terrible position. And we've seen
yeah,
that. One person who is very good at that is Luca. Luca is very, um when he's on the go, he's very efficient with his movement.
Yep.
and it's like everything he does has a purpose. And even when he's dribbling, he gets by you, um, but he still wants to fill you out. Like everything he's doing. So like you could not be as not so fast as Luca is. If you're like a jittery type dude, Luca would freaking destroy you, you know, something
Yeah.
like that. Maybe you will have a better chance with a guy like Kyrie or something like that, because you just one possession you just might like guess right. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Or just mistakenly find yourself in the correct position, but do like Kyrie will probably just counter and go another direction. Um, but they're this league is just crazy. You know how good these guys are. Let's go Wimby the Avatar. Wow, did you get? But yeah, so just like some time in the league we'll get that hopefully with good coaching too.
Yeah.
We'll get that fixed up, and then we'll see, and then probably add some shooting to his repertoire. And then I said repertoire I think more times than I wanted to in the last
Repertoire.
couple. But hopefully that tightens up, and then we uh, we can see him on the floor contributing to some winning basketball.
Yeah.
We'll do great things all max. Yeah, just like Josh. Yep. I agree with Richard Case.
Mm-hmm.
I like it. He gave me to it fits.
He's gonna push that. It's gonna be a thing now.
Nah, I know it. I know it. Have you watched the It Is What It Is podcast?
No, I haven't.
And they effectively have changed the way people in general have just talked and just had discourse amongst themselves. So anything that can be construed as innuendo,
Yeah.
you have to say pause.
Gotcha.
Or someone's gonna be like, "Hey, yo."
Gotcha. Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway,
Nice.
and I'm such a child that stuff gets me every time.
Very nice.
It gets me every freaking time. Anyway, but yeah. So, what's your expectations, your thoughts going into the season? Where's your head at in regards to what the
Mm,
Mavericks can do,
I do think
bro?
I do think they are a playoff team. I think last year's team was honestly like last year's team obviously fell apart down the stretch and everything.
Yeah.
And I think the Kyrie trade, in desperation to turn future fortunes, you basically sold a chunk of the farm at the time just to try and make that work. And so
Hmm.
it was kind of like, now you should have still made the playoffs last year,
Yeah.
even after the trade. I'm not
At least, at
excusing
least,
them
at
not.
least the play-ins. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not excusing them not. But I am saying that that wasn't a move made for that year, even though on the surface at the time when it was made, we were like, yeah, of course that's what they're doing. Like they're trying to see if they can get over the hump this year. But it's like, nah, with the parts that you had to give up, you just didn't have any kind of defense. You didn't have any kind of rebounding. Like
Yeah.
you're not going to win games dropping 130 points and hoping the other team's 129.
Yeah.
So and that played out. So I think they're absolutely health permitting a playoff team this year. I think they're a team that probably is going to hover somewhere in that 5-6 range right now, just with how I feel about the West. I do like their prospects moving forward. I think this is, as we talk about these things almost in terms of seasons, not seasons in terms of like, it's the 2023-24 season. No, I mean like
Yeah.
seasons, like seasons of the year.
Hmm.
Uh, this next crop of guys coming up now, I think they have the young talent now that my perception of the window is very different than it was. Like when we were the team that went to the West Finals, everything on that roster was like, yeah, this is it. Like we don't have the young
Hmm.
buck coming up that looks like they can really do something, like because we didn't even have Hardy yet at the time. Like
Yeah.
there wasn't that next wave behind him. It was all these guys still early in their careers, but already in position or already making big money. And now you have that picture where it's like, okay, you've got Hardy going into his second year. What's that going to look like? We have Lively, who looks like he's ready to day one step in as the starting center. We have Omex that we're looking at, and we are very high on his potential. We have Josh Green looking like he might be ready to take a big forward leap in his development and everything. So you're starting to look at this and you see like, okay, yes, you still have Luka and you still have, some of these other parts that are there and ready, but now you have the support kind of coming up around them. And so now I don't look at this and say like, okay, if they don't do it this year, they're going to get perhaps just a little, they're going to hopefully stay even or get a little bit worse next year. Like with each passing year, your chances go down, right? As you're talking about a window. Now you're looking at it with the young crop coming up, and it's like, no, that window is going to start to open. It's going to be the opposite direction. So I feel much better about where they are right now compared to where they were this time last year for sure. So I think they're probably going to be in the middle of the pack playoff wise. I still think they need to do something for a more immediate relief on the center front. That's still a thing for me, as much as I love Lively and what I'm seeing from him. I think he needs to be, I'm not saying he can, even if he's going to be your starter, I just think you need more depth there, I guess. So I know we have guys that we like in terms of Rashawn Holmes, but that's really undersized there and not necessarily the answer. So I think there's still things that they can do, but I'm optimistic. I think it's going to be a fun team to watch this year for sure. That's the big thing for me.
So my thoughts is I have no thoughts. there's a wide,
what a bold prediction.
Yeah. There's a wide I think there more than most teams in the league. There's a wide variant of outcomes that I can see the Mavericks having. Like if you told me there'll be a fourth seed, I can see a path to where that's happening. If you told me they're a 10th seed, I can definitely be like, I can see a path to that happening. As I don't want to see it, but I can definitely see a path to them ending up being a 4 seed or them being a 10th seed or whatever. Like if you told me that, it wouldn't necessarily surprise me. Now, if you said a first seed, I'd be like, holy crap! Like what?
No, I
What
couldn't
happened
see that.
for us? Or what happened for us, or what happened?
Even a 4, I would think it
teams,
was okay. We had a lot go right, but there had to be a fair number of things with the teams ahead of us going wrong.
Yeah. So that was how I'll look at it. But if you were to say make a prediction on how the Mavericks, I mean, I'll probably say 7th or 6th seed.
Yeah.
Not because of how not good the Mavericks are, just because the West is just stacked now.
That's why I said 5, and that's 5 thinking fairly optimistic. I think 6 is probably where I got them. 6, 7 I could see.
Yeah, it loosened up a little bit with the news of Steven Adams going down for the season.
Yeah, we didn't even mention that on the stream. We were talking about that before we went live.
Yeah, and I think Brandon Clark isn't yet cleared for his Achilles injury, so I think not having 2 clear big men like that, even though Tillman is very serviceable, and of course they still have Jaren Jackson Jr. The Memphis Grizzlies might knock them down a peg. Who knows? That could be in our favor. I don't know. Or maybe the Mavericks just play down to the competition and lose to them anyway, just like they did last year with many teams.
Last year was a very frustrating Mavericks team, even before the late season collapse.
Exactly. Yeah.
So many losses that you're just like, how?
Yeah,
why?
exactly. Exactly. So that's where my expectation is. However, what you said was spot on about the outlook. The general outlook of the team has changed significantly throughout this offseason. Whereas after the Western Conference run, we were excited, but we're almost like, where do we go from here?
Yeah.
How do we get better? Can we get ourselves a center to replace Dwight Powell and then I guess run it back again?
We've been asking that for 7 years, dude.
For 7 freaking years, dude. But yeah, I totally agree that we have guys that sorry. I'm looking at. I'm very upset right now with my fantasy football. Atlanta, I just want to freaking blow up the freaking Falcons, dude. Holy crap. Anyway, that's what I
What are you
get
talking
for.
about? Last I saw, they were winning.
Are they?
Yeah, 13-10 right now on the
Jesus
Bucks.
Christ, they're winning. Yeah, but screwing over my
See,
fan.
clearly the problem before was that they were forcing the ball to
Oh,
Bijan Robinson.
I might have to trade him. See who was willing to bite. Golly. Anyway, before I was rudely interrupted by my
Yourself.
Yeah. But anyway, no man, but I can definitely see one of the things that I always tend to bring up, and I think I got some clarification, but I forgot the clarification. But I do think if the Mavericks don't trade the first round pick this year, I think they'll have 3 available to trade next year. So
Okay.
that can, and of course, if they don't give up the 2 second rounds or whatever,
Yeah.
3
You
first
got
rounds and 2
tradable
second rounds.
assets. Not
Yeah,
just assets, but actual like draft
tradable.
pick. Yeah. Yep.
Exactly. And we all know I could easily go back if I wanted to take the time, which I haven't. I can literally go back and be like, what big name moved this year? What big name moved this year? And go back. Literally, there's a big name moving every year.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
the problem is that Mavericks has never had, I guess, and when I say big name, like I'm talking like all-star level to superstar level, like multiple all-star.
Kyrie and Durant moved last year.
Yeah, exactly.
And we were in, obviously, Kyrie.
I'm not talking about like Porzingis being down for a year and then we trade for him or stuff like
Yeah.
that.
What do you think of Richard Case's speculation here? He said, do you think we'll make a salary cap trade to combine Holmes, Maxey, and THJ for big salary with 1 year left just to clear the books? Maybe a trade like Gordon Hayward just to clean the books.
I mean, I wouldn't be against it.
I am open to clearing some cap space, but with what we talked about, kind of a log jam a little bit. I don't know that Hayward is the one that I look at extensively there. I like the idea of opening that. I don't know if that's where I'm like, if I need to figure out how to make this roster better, that's where I need to look.
Well, I think the way Richard is looking at it is, it will be like a win-win situation for the Mavericks. So like if we have a Gordon Hayward, he can contribute to the team, but him being Gordon Hayward, if he gets hurt, and he's like, okay, well, at least we opened up space for cap space, and then open up some space for some guys that we actually want to be trying to develop. We don't even know if we want to bring him back next year after his contract runs out. But just by trading him, maybe we trade the second round picks so that Charlotte can get something for them. But maybe a Gordon Hayward just a kid. I get it. It's not necessarily Gordon Hayward exactly, but someone in that realm of they make so much money, but they have 1 year left on their deal. Let's trade for him so it can help us clear out some.
My expectation is, as they are having those phone calls at the deadline, Hardaway's still won't have had that conversation about what his role is. Like, we'll be that far down the pipeline, and he still will not have talked with Jason Kidd about what exactly is my role.
Holy crap! I hate fantasy football.
Who was that guy? He was a sharpshooter with the Mavericks, and then he went to Indiana. But I remember you were real high on him, white guy. As soon as we brought up McDermott, yes. Yeah,
broke my heart that he signed with the
Pacers.
The freaking Pacers.
And I remember. I was like, as soon as we mentioned Hayward, I was like, that reminds me of another guy. And I remember it was someone you were like pretty high on. That was before the upward swing started, though. Those were dark days.
Yeah. I could
when we had to get upset about Doug McDermott signing elsewhere. We were like, dang it, this is what we need. This franchise is
I like
falling
that. Can
apart.
you imagine Doug McDermott with Luka Doncic? He's probably one of the best cutters in the league, is he not?
Yeah, he's
He's a
definitely up there.
phenomenal cutter, and he can shoot.
Yep.
Bro, he would have fit hand and glove with Luka. My goodness. And then I think we lost him and Seth in one off
The
season.
first go around, yeah.
Yeah, I was highly because I think that's when Seth moved on to Portland.
Yep.
Yeah, that was an ugly off season.
I never understood letting him go the first. I mean, I didn't
Oh
understand
my,
it the second time, but the first time especially, I was just like,
yeah.
why?
Why?
I know he
Like,
had like a broken leg or something in that second year with us.
mhm.
Um,
He didn't play
but
pretty much the whole.
yeah, it was like like something with his shin or tibia, something like that.
I think it was like a stress
Um,
fracture or something like that.
something, yeah.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like a Paul George broken leg or something like that, like it was like a stress fracture.
Put the thing on his
Um,
back though.
and then they just didn't bring him back, and he went to the
Portland
Portland, yeah. And
went to the
it just
Western
never
Conference
made any sense to me because I was like, dude, he was like one of the best things you had going for you
Yeah.
that year. Like it was him and Dennis Smith that year, right?
Yeah.
Or was Dennis Smith the next year?
No. That was
Dennis Smith's rookie year, I think.
no. I want to say that was probably Dennis Smith's rookie year is the year that he was out. I think for
Maybe
the whole
that's
year.
it. I'm going to Google, so you wait time for me for a second.
Okay. Can I rant about fantasy football?
If you must.
I feel like teams know that I have players in the lineup and they conspire against me. That's what's going on. They are conspiring against literally just me. Or they'll be like, "Oh, this dude is on the bench. Just go off. Like you're the third string running back that so happens to be on my bench. Go ahead and go off." And then, "Oh, you're the number 8th pick in the freaking draft. I'm not gonna give you the ball not once this game."
16-17 was his first year with the Mavericks.
Okay,
Dennis
and then
Smith was 17. No, 16-17.
yeah, because he was a 17. He was a 17
Because Luka
draft.
was drafted in the 2018 draft, right?
Yeah, so Dennis Smith's rookie year was 17-18.
So then it would have been that second year when they were on the bench. So I guess that was it. Because Curry broke out in the year when Yogi Ferrell.
Ah,
that was it. We were having to sell ourselves
that
on
was
those
a very
Mavericks with
low
Yogi
time
Ferrell and yeah. Okay.
second team all rookie. Yogi
It's
Ferrell.
all coming back.
It's all coming back to me now.
Oh,
Anyway,
dark days.
yeah,
Harrison Barnes, Yogi Ferrell, and
dude, I remember the freaking.
Steph Curry.
I actually loved those days.
Just because you didn't have the expectations, and when you won, it was fun.
Oh yeah, and I would go to games all the time because tickets would be so cheap. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I mean, I'm the type of person I'll find the silver lining in everything, because that's just the way I am. We realize now
That was a 33-win Mavs team.
we have surpassed the funnest part of the reconstruction times of the Mavericks.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
so it's
that's
like now we have expectations.
accurate.
Now it's not going to be as fun, but
Mhm.
we have like the most fun it will be championship. So like it's kind of like a whatever. I don't know how to diagram it.
Right.
I will do a study on it. Stay tuned. But I think the peak of fun versus expectations was 22 when they went to the Western Conference.
Mhm.
And then after that, now that we're just like, all
Yeah,
right,
now it's how do you take that next step or anything
yeah,
less than that's a disappointment. Yeah. No,
yeah,
you're right.
to a point where like there will be a couple of games, and maybe Kid was also a driving force in this, but they will win a couple of games the year after, and I'm like still pissed off, like,
Yeah.
what the heck are
Because they
you
didn't
doing?
win well enough.
Yeah, they didn't win well enough, or Kid was doing stupid stuff.
Yep.
You had one more shot. You had a last possession where you needed a shot, and for some reason Christian Wood still wasn't in the game. You still had Dwight Powell in there. I'm just like, I don't
I think
know what's going on.
I think part of that as well was the year before Game 7 against the Clippers.
Yeah.
But you know what? Go a game before that, Game 6, because you had to choke away Game 6 at the very end. That when you had it in control and then you let Game 6 slip away was where it hit that crescendo point where it was like, okay, last year we were just the kids happy to be here. This year is supposed to be the next step forward. And so like that was the turning point of when those expectations for me set in, where I was like, okay, we're not on an upswing. We're okay, we need to be here now moment.
Yeah.
And when you let Game 6 get away and then you go to Game 7 and anybody not named Luka was like 1 of 32 from 3 or whatever nonsense it was just like, okay, yep. This is not fun now. So
yeah, exactly.
That's when for me the expectation changed. Yes, you're right. The playoff run, the West Finals run, that made it fun again because it was like, oh, then they finally won a playoff series.
It was definitely that Sun series too, because it literally was. It literally was house money right after Bogdanovich missed that 3.
Yeah, and once you beat Utah, it was like
you beat Utah. I was like, all right, we've reached our goal.
Yeah,
but then all the shit.
I didn't want to get swept. That was it. I didn't want to get swept by the Suns.
I
wanted to at least go to 6 if we could squeeze the 6. And then to get them like we did was just like, whew.
But boy, oh boy, all that shit talking from Phoenix.
Yep.
All that shit talking with Phoenix. It was just like, all right, F it. I want to beat these mother effers now.
Yeah.
And they did it. Then it was just like, hope, like this is it.
The peak thing was their ownership having to release a statement to their fans. that was when it was just like, you know what? Yes.
That was fun. Yeah.
I don't know that anything would top this other than like hoisting the trophy.
Yes.
And even then, we would still talk about the Suns thing almost as much as we would have.
that letter is probably the second best piece of hardware that we have.
Yep.
In our franchise history. Like stick that in a trophy case.
Mark Cuban loves NFTs and all that, right? Make it an NFT.
We literally made an owner address his fan base apologizing to them.
Obviously, that's not the way we wanted our season to go.
That's incredible. Anyway.
Yeah.
Fun times. So
yep. So for me, that's peak. You're right. That Sun series peaked over getting to the West Finals, as cool as that was.
The only thing, I don't know, I think if we make it back to a West Finals, I think that will also be fun. I would hate to be those teams that like, this is the Lakers every time because
saddled with expectation.
Yeah. So like they made it to the Western Conference, they got swept.
Yeah.
And then they're like, blow it up.
Yeah. Even though they were a surprise run to get there.
Yeah, like you realize like a couple months ago y'all were the 13th seed.
Yeah.
So like imagine how much not fun having that kind of expectations is.
No, I mean? I agree. And it's the purgatory that Dirk had to live in for years, right? They go in 2003, they're in the West Finals, and if not for Dirk's knee injury, they probably win it all that year.
Yeah.
Then they claw back even after losing Steve Nash and get there in 06, meltdown, choke it away. And then you go into a 5-year purgatory where it's like you get out of the first round once,
yeah.
In all that time, you beat the Spurs 1 year just to get mud stomped by the Carmelo, Chauncey Billups Nuggets.
Yeah.
So, and Kenyon Martin. So,
and can you believe like during those times too, like going to the playoffs wasn't even a thing to celebrate anymore.
No, it was expectation. 12. That's what 11 straight 50-win years.
Yeah. It was almost like people didn't pay attention to the regular season. They just like, oh, all right, finally the match. Now it's off postseason time. Now I'm gonna tune in.
I remember when that first year post title, it was the lockout year. So it was a 66 game season, and Mark Cuban had the audacity to try and defend the 50-win streak. by saying, well, if you look at the percentage, it's the same win percentage. And I was just like, shut the hell up. The Spurs actually legitimately won like 52 games that year. Something stupid. And I was just like, shut up, Mark. Everybody knows this team is going to do nothing. You had Lamar Odom doing coke in the locker room at one point.
No, I think the funnest part of those post championship runs were like constructing the teams off
The
of
oldest team possible.
the potential free agents that could come.
Yeah.
I remember me and my roommates were like, dude, if we can get Dwight Howard and Dirk, and we can get Tracy McGrady here, because he was the one that called it out before, because he was like, if
Yeah.
I'm Aaron Williams and Dwight, I'll go to the Mavericks. And
Yep.
we're like, effort, bring Steve Nash back. We're having like a good times Mavs roster.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the funnest part. But yeah, watching the actual games were pretty dragged.
Yep.
Yeah, but yeah,
well,
it is what it is. It's the lifespan of from construction to rebuild to championship. That's what you have to deal with.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully championship.
Yeah. Some teams are still looking for their first.
Yeah.
One of them just got their first last year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll see what this Mavericks team is going to be this year. I am optimistic that it's a return to the playoffs, health permitting. I think they are a team that can be dangerous, but I'm more looking at the big picture of like the next couple of years.
Yeah.
I think with the young talent they have coming up, if they develop the way that we think that they will, you might have an ability to keep Luka and Kyrie happy, to keep them here. And then at that point, you'll be growing into a team that's dangerous and ready to do that. It's like your real window is when you have all that young talent at like the very back end of their rookie contracts and all that.
Yeah.
You should be stressing their next contracts, because that's when they're going to be the most dangerous. And that's going to be the most exciting time. Right now, this is just like we're on a mini upswing again. Like we're trying to do that. Part of that is you got humbled and knocked down off the pedestal last year after the deep playoff run. So now you got to try and redeem yourself a little bit, but also you've got actual talent to kind of power and energize this move, where hopefully you don't have to run your star players into the ground in the first half of the season, let alone the big picture of the whole tournament.
Yeah, totally agree. If you were to place a bet, are we about to wrap up, or are we still talking? Because
we can go a few more minutes if you got something.
Gotcha. Well, I was going to ask you, if you had to place a bet, would you say the Mavericks make a trade like what Richard was talking about earlier?
A significant trade, something even if it doesn't have to be a blockbuster, but a significant trade. Like if you're trading the three examples he gave, all of those guys have been, well, Holmes has even been locked into some of these trade discussions. Yeah, I think there's a better than 50% chance that happens. It would not surprise me whether or not the team is performing as we expect and hope that they will, just because they're wanting to be a little bit aggressive and also open, like we said, open up some channels for those younger guys to develop and get more action.
Yeah.
That wouldn't surprise me. And if they're struggling, then it's going to be like, all right, let's make ourselves more mobile, so to speak, more flexible moving forward into this summer and everything, so that we can do more. We're going to get more development time for these young guys, and we're going to open up some salary cap for us so that we can try and be more aggressive and more involved in some of these potential trade discussions or free agent signings this summer.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think there's, when I say better than 50% chance, I'm thinking just a little over like 52, 53%. That maybe that's more gut feeling than anything, but I think they're going to move Hardaway. And I think Maxey, they love him, but at the same time, he's been on a decline. He's been on a slope that we've all been watching. If they don't move him soon, they're not going to have really much else to move him with. So it's like, you might as well do it now. And if Lively and your young core looks like they are what they are, then Holmes might not need to be anything more than a stopgap rotation player at that position. So yeah, I think that would all be doable.
What do you think? What if they traded Dwight Powell?
The odds
What
of
if
it?
that was the only thing holding us back from a championship?
They'll never trade Dwight Powell because nobody is going to value him in that way,
No,
other
hell
than the Rockets, who apparently offered him a bigger contract than
That
Dallas.
was because people. Okay, the Rockets were trying to just get to the floor. That's what they were doing. They were just trying to get money, put money anywhere they possibly can to get to the floor. It wasn't because
they
Dwight
valued
is
him. I know,
a great player or whatever.
Sure.
Like, they were just trying to fill out a roster.
Sure.
And not get penalized by not spending the money.
Right. I would say they'll never trade him, mostly because he knows where the bodies are buried and he'll never let Mark trade him. So he's here.
What if the basketball fairy was like, Mark,
when he retires, he's going to be the new head coach.
Jesus Christ, don't say that.
Then he'll be the GM.
What if he's a good coach or a good GM?
Then he'll be the GM. And when Mark Cuban is ready to retire and pass from this world, the Mavericks will be left to Dwight in the will. And he'll be the new owner, the new governor.
And then makes himself a player again. Oh my
God. A governor coach. We've never had that. A governor coach player. That's what we need to see.
I would kill myself. I'm not.
At that point, it's just to tell the story, it's worth it, right?
we can't get out of this. Oh my God.
Oh man. So as soon as that happens, he finally takes to Twitter and he's just like, who's gonna trade me now?
He turns into a Spider-Man villain or something.
It's his villain origin story. And then he does trade himself, but he still owns the Mavericks. He trades himself to the team that's going to win the championship that year. So he's keeping us down and he's going to go get his ring somewhere else finally. Oh my gosh. That would be so hysterical that I would let go of my fury. Just you know what? I can't even I can't. It's too ridiculous. I can't be upset.
At some point you will be numb to the pain.
The absurdity. Yeah.
Hey, it has to be like this.
And then after all that, then he relocates the Mavericks
to Canada.
What part is he from? Is he from Toronto, or are we going? Are we going back to Vancouver? Are we going to be the worst NBA franchise ever? Rebrand us as the resurrection of the Vancouver Grizzlies.
Yeah, I don't know why Memphis kept Grizzlies. It's I don't think Bears even existed.
I mean, we've talked about Utah Jazz.
Yeah. You're the least rhythmic state in the union.
If there's one place I look for Jazz, it's Utah.
Oh my gosh. All right. Anyway, I think it's time
I think Nico could do good with 3 first 30 million plus.
I think so too.
Yeah.
I think so too. Hold on, let me check my freaking.
Well, I think that'll wrap up our stream here. Again, it's not a lot going on just yet. Season's about to start. That's the good thing. For now, this was really just kind of an open forum to jump on here because it had been a minute. Chance to talk with you guys. I know there's football going on, so it was a chance to run with it, but chance for us to jump on here and chat for a bit as well. So always good to do.
I hate fantasy football.
Don't forget to like the video, leave a comment below, subscribe to the Dallas Prospect, and until next time, remember, every legend was once a prospect. Peace!
Unless he plays for the Atlanta Falcons.
Damn it.
He would just always remain a prospect.